Welcome back to the channel. All right, we're doing something really cool in December. I'm pumped up to do this. You all know how much I love my Discord server. I love hanging out on there, chatting with everybody, and all the good supportive information that gets shared. Now, what we're doing this December is we're going to rank all of the classes, and my Discord server is going to vote. I'm also going to give my own personal rankings because I know a lot of you will be like, well, actually, we want to know what you think, dude. So I will do that, but the countdown will be focused on the way the rankings were done by the Discord server, by the voters of very, very smart, kind, intelligent people there. And then I will give mine. And just so you can have a little bit of idea of how this worked is I listed about 10 champions. I think maybe for skill, I did about 12. And then people who have earned a specialized role, who've earned that respect role, got to add on anyone they wanted. And then anyone in the server could vote. They just were not allowed to vote more than once for the same champion to provide the same rank in different places. I then went and tabulated it, and I think I learned a few things. I learned a few things, and my own personal rankings and the rankings at the monthly rankings, champion rankings that I do are going to be updated. Now, let's not belabor this too long. We will be talking about skill today. I will get out every single class over the course of this month, and then we will do a fun top 10 or 15 too. I think it's going to be pretty cool, and I have a certain format I'm going to give for that. And speaking of format, they were given no formatting, no rules. It was just who are the best. So AQ, Alliance War, Battlegrounds, Questing, Eternity of Pain, whatever, Incursions, however the player defined that. And I think it shows up quite a bit. Also, you could include synergies, whatever it is you thought. And I think that's going to give us a really good reflection on true value for the player base. So I'm excited about that. Now, before we get into the exact top 10, I had an honorary mention on mine, and they just barely missed it. And I was surprised that they missed it, actually. But once I sat down and really tried to do a top 10, I just couldn't get them in there. And both of them, these two have some similarities. Crossbones and Black Panther both have incredibly high damage output. I think they do take high player skill, summoner skill to get those top end performances of. But that's why some of these really high and top tier players who develop that time and that skill necessary are showing us so many incredible things with them. The champions are capable of it. I just think that's part of it. One obviously has the bleeds, Crossbones with those furies, refreshing them. Black Panther can both shut off ability accuracy. That's different in how they do it, but they are incredibly powerful. They just don't completely make my top 10. And then honorable mentions for the Discord server rankings. We've got Agent Venom, obviously, if you include those synergies, but that doesn't surprise me that the server was kind of smart on like, look, he really needs those synergies. Black Panther barely missed it by 1 point. 1 point as far as the tabulation. Black Cat was up there. Black Widow Deadly Origin was up there. Massacre was actually very, very close. Blade and Karnak were nominated, and that means something. They are up there for the honorable mention. And then they kind of surprised me a little bit, but I think this makes sense. Aegon didn't make it, and I think that shows how much we've moved on from Act 6. And also, there's just no Everest content right now, or at least no new one. And then even in the last one we saw with Grandmaster's Gauntlet, he could do it, but he really wasn't the best. You're better taking in specific counters to each fight as far as trying to save items and things like that. And then Killmonger, that one hurt me a little bit because you're going to see in my own rankings where I think I put him. But I get it. He is not flashy. He's not doing that tremendous damage. Maybe there is a bit of a war, not bias, but slant to those who really, really love him. I'm one of them. But I get it. I understand it. Those were the honorable mentions for the Discord server. Okay, just barely edging out Black Panther for the number 10 spot by literally only 1 point. We have Elsa Bloodstone. She is worthy for sure, in my opinion. You can see that really nice sig ability, getting extra damage for large and extra large champions, able to get that really nice precision buff. We're seeing the amount of damage she can do, plus she can handle evade. I think it does take a little bit of understanding how to play her to maximize her, but those who have done it have done tremendous things. We've got Campo and the Robs, right? Rob from SSX and then Rob Bonchu himself. She's phenomenal. She's great. I definitely understand why people like her so much. I was a little slow to warm up to her, but it makes a lot of sense. And I do think she's incredibly valuable to account because she is unique in the skill class. She has that shrugging ability as well. I think she's highly worth ranking. If you pull her early, she's going to show you a very, very long way. And we're seeing her do really good things in Battlegrounds too, right? So I can see there's another new mode in the game that is showing off how powerful she can be. And then if you happen to run the recoil tree, you place her on defense, and unless they placed a mutant, you're probably going to win that round. Now, I said I'd do mine too, and I won't talk at length about them because I'll talk when the server rankings come up. But my number 10 was actually Hitmonkey, those bleeds, all the things, Battlegrounds. You guys know how good he is, but that was my number 10 personal for skill rankings. Speaking of Hitmonkey, the Discord server had him coming as the number 9 best skill champion in the game. I had him at 10. I agree with this ranking. That's very, very close. Tremendous damage, right? If you're taking a Hitmonkey, you're thinking huge, big damage. The crit bleeds actually do a phenomenal job too. However, as Nerd pointed out, there's a lot of Battlegrounds fights where he's just getting through those resistances anyway. So even if the champions bleed immune, Hitmonkey's got a shot, guaranteed critical hits. The ability to shrug those debuffs allows those folks who love running recoil to really maximize that out. But in my opinion, I don't think you have to run them with him. I'm seeing tremendous things done in Battlegrounds, which I think is also bringing up the prominence of Hitmonkey, showing off how well made he is, how good he is, but then also giving him a mode that a lot of people care about where he's really getting to shine. Obviously, you're aware, taking out champions like Thing, who are bleed immune too. He's phenomenal. And also, look, this doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. He actually can start to shut down defensive ability accuracy. Now it's only 10 to 40%, but depending on what stance you're in and how you play him, maybe a little luck goes your way. You can do things like potentially even shut off Hercules' immortality. That's really nice. It's great. There's even more to this monkey than I've been able to talk about here. But if you pull him, you're set, you're good, especially if you run that recoil tree. He does phenomenal damage. And then my number 9, my own personal number 9, was Stealth Spider-Man. I am including the synergies there. The most important one for me is going to be that Venom synergy, allowing him to so much more flexibility with his cartridges that he runs there. I don't enjoy playing him that much. It just has to do with his moveset and things like that. But I can't deny he's absolutely phenomenal if you've got the right synergies with him. And the cool thing is the synergies with really good champions. You don't upset about bringing in Scorpion. Okay, coming in at number 8 for the Discord server rankings is Crossbones. Now, I'm just gonna, again, no one had the chance to really expound upon this, but I think this makes a lot of sense, especially if you've gone with that really high sig with that 90% chance to purify incoming debuff, and then also gain those Fury buffs. The Fury buffs are so important to him. So I think this gives him the opportunity to get ramped more quickly and then also keep that ramp a lot more quickly. There's some really great gameplay of Crossbones out there. I know Munosh did some great stuff, keeping those Furies up. We're seeing him be used in Battlegrounds, the non-critting, and the ability to turn off ability accuracy. That's an incredibly powerful champion right there, right? His moveset is really good. I think it's fluid. I like the flow on this champion very much. I think he's well worthy. You know, if you're close enough in ranking, I think you're kind of putting these champions in the same tier. So I completely understand why the Discord server has him ranked so highly. And he is unique in the skill class, right, too. Like we just had Hitmonkey, Crit Monkey, right? Guaranteed crits. Now here's a champion who actually cannot crit. Makes a lot of sense. It adds diversity to your skill roster. I totally get that. Now, on my own personal side, this was surprising to me when I actually had to sit down and be like, if I was advising rank ups, it's Mole Man. And I really like Mole Man. I even put out the video that I think if you were using Mole Man and you loved him, he was still probably one of the best replacements for what you were using him. But it has changed. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think you now need to be a much better player to use him. I think before you could kind of just go crazy and trigger frenzy and they still couldn't evade and all that. And honestly, that's kind of how I used him. But now you've really got to think it through. And the thing I don't like about it is I feel like it's too easy to sometimes lose your true strike when you don't want to. Now, maybe you shouldn't have been using him in those matchups to begin with. And I know some of you are going to be like, dude, it's fine. I never have that problem. And that's great. But if I'm giving advice, if I'm ranking champions, if I'm looking at the skill class as a whole, which is what I did, that's about where I would put him. And I think it's going to be dependent on what it is you need and how you want to play him. Now, we're still seeing him do great things in Battlegrounds. An alliance mate of mine, Adam, just used him to solo an alliance war boss, tier 1 for Loki. So he still has tremendous value. I think you just need to know more and more now exactly what you're trying to accomplish with him and get that done. Number 7 from the Discord server was Stealth S. I already talked to him about him quite a bit when I did my own rankings. All of that still holds true, but the champion deserves his own shout out. What's up, Snoops? Shout out to you. You've been telling us how good he is all along. And of course, Karate Mike has as well. those synergies, they really do add a ton to him. So it makes a ton of sense for me. And then number 7, I'll talk about him a little bit because he's not on the Discord server rankings, as I pointed out, is Killmonger. I love Killmonger. I think he's fantastic. His true strike and the way you can get it up. Yes, I know it's not going to be doable for every special and things like that. Sometimes those windows are a little bit tight. And yeah, I understand his damage is not the best, but you get his signature ability up, or if you stack those bleeds, he has a really nice smooth play style. He's got those counter strikes that you can get in. He can even go indestructible. This is a phenomenal champion. He's going to save you items along the way if you're willing to invest and learn how to play him. And he's also a good defender, right? Like, this was just overall account building sort of things. He's a great defender in Battlegrounds, and it's not the prettiest matchups, right? I have to place a defender I know is going to really stall, but I've even used him offensively sometimes to take out a really annoying champions like Spider-Ham. It's just the flow. I think he's incredibly well made. His abilities are there, and they're easily accessed as you're just playing the game. I love Killmonger. Wanted to take a few seconds and make sure I explained why, and I have Killmonger as my number 7 best skill champion in the game. Number 6 on the Discord rankings skill champions is actually Falcon. Now, if you've followed me for a while, you know I'm not a big fan of playing Falcon. There's just something about the dash back, hold, block, whole mechanic I don't enjoy. I just don't. But I cannot deny that he's phenomenal at what he does, and what he does is important. Shutting off those ability, that defensive ability accuracy, and then you get him awakened. I feel like you really only need one. You don't even necessarily need it, but I do think it's really powerful, and that's included in this ranking of this champion, because your lockdown's not going to last 2 seconds longer, and then every SIG ability later is going to add more to the critical rating, which is obviously a great thing. When you want that defensive ability actually shut down, you know exactly what you're getting out of Falcon, I think is ultimately my point. The game continues to grow, and I've been talking about how I think we're moving away from these generalists or your super niche and more to these specialists who can handle, I don't know, 30% or whatever, okay? But it's not niche, it's not generalist. You want these ultimate strong, hard counters, and Falcon does that. I used to kind of say, well, I didn't like, because there's times where you want more than 100% ability actually shut down, or there's champions who can go above it. So he's not going to work for that. But there's still just more and more growing content where you want that 100%. He shuts it down. He gets the job done. He's relatively simple to play in today's game. I think this makes a ton of sense. Now, my own personal 6th champion is actually Elsa Bloodstone. We've already talked at length about her, but I want to point out, why do I have her so much higher than the server? I think it's because of her uniqueness. I don't even play her. I'm not an Elsa player, but I do believe she is very unique, and often you're not going to be able to duplicate her abilities. Even with 2 of the other skill champions, she's unique, and she's very, very powerful. So keep that in mind when it comes to Elsa Bloodstone. Now, moving on to number 5, talk about coming out of nowhere and just rocketing up the rankings. I think if we'd done this a month ago, I don't think she'd be up here. Now, I know some of you commenters had told me when I do the champion rankings every month, you're like, look, dude, I'm doing some really cool stuff with her. She's really good. Just wait till you get her. Well, as some of you know, it took me a long time. Finally got her. But thanks to channels like Bitter Steel, Karate Mike, Legacy, DLL are now showing us all of these things too. We're seeing how much damage she can do just by hitting in the block. And now I say just hitting the block, and it makes it sound like, if you don't know how she plays, it makes it sound like, oh, it's really simple. It's not. It requires some AI mastery and how to manipulate that AI. But what I'm trying to point out is, because she can do this great damage while only hitting into the block, she's able to bypass a tremendous amount of defender abilities that are otherwise troublesome, and nodes that are also difficult. Stuff that you don't really think of just from reading her ability kit, that, oh, she's gonna be able to get around this node or handle that. But because she doesn't actually have to make contact with them as far as hitting them with a combo, just their block, she gets around all of it. And the important part is, and this is why I started off with it, is that she can do good damage while doing it. It's not the best damage in the game, but it is darn good. Because if her damage took forever, if the fights were taking 5 and 10 minutes, then so many things could go wrong along the way, what have you. Now, that's just war and Battlegrounds. We're seeing her do really nice things in longer form content. There's this whole aspect of her kit with the bulwark and manipulating her combo counter. So there's even more to her, and you're gonna see, I may have a higher opinion on her than the rankings from the server here itself. And then I won't belabor it because we already talked about it a lot. I don't even like playing Falcon, and I had him as a number 5 most valuable or best skill champion, just because He's good at what he does. He's great at what he does, and what he does is valuable. Okay, now this is the first place where I think the Discord server and I really had diverged. So they're only 4 rankings off, but I do think they show a large difference in the respect or value we're placing on this champion. I barely use my mole mine. I almost never have. In fact, the nerf to him, or the fix, depending on how you classify it, it didn't even really affect me because I just didn't use him the way the fix, fixed him. I know it sounds like we got our dog neutered, but he is incredibly powerful. I cannot deny that. The damage capabilities coming off of him are phenomenal. If you're keyed in and you're skilled at making sure you keep your true strike, or if you don't need it and you trigger the frenzy, you're fine. You're good to go. I also think the fact that I don't run recoil tree, and I know so many folks like to, and he's so good with them, could also be playing into this. 4 or 8 in a game this big, this complex, I don't think is that important. Discord server has him at 4. It makes a lot of sense to me. As you know, I had him at 8. And then my own number 4, we just talked about her a ton, is actually Valkyrie. And I feel comfortable with that. I really do. With what I've seen, as if we're talking about the game as a whole, I feel very comfortable with that. And I hate to say it, but I wonder if we're going to see her move up a little bit, or if at a minimum, at least hold her place, potentially move down to 5. I'm very intrigued about Mantis, but she's not out yet. She is not part of this conversation. Okay, and then for number 3 with the Discord server rankings, there was a big jump. I've talked about the tier. I already pointed out the last one. There was another sizable tier here between Valkyrie and Shang-Chi. Some of this may be due to channels like Swedish showing how amazing Shang-Chi should be. I know I love Shang-Chi. He was my first rank forever, so it is my Discord server. So there may be a little bit of an influence there where folks are like, no, we've seen how good he is for a very long time. I do think he's the number 3 though. He can do so many things, and he can do the stun, he can cleanse, he can place the incredible slow, he can go unblockable. It's so often about knowing how you're going to attack the fight, knowing what his charges do and his different strikes, and then you just kind of rinse and repeat, and you rinse the defender. I get in trouble with him when I try to push him too far, but that often is because I made the mistake. It's not a deficiency in the champion. He's so well made. I absolutely love the flow on this champion. And then no surprise, my own personal rankings too, he's also the number 3 champion. Now this is going to actually surprise people, and people on the Discord server are going to be like, wait, what? But it had to do with the way the votes were tabulated, and I did intentionally remove them because I wanted there to be some surprises for everyone who voted. There was also another tier jump between Shang-Chi and the top 2, and the top 2 came down to Kingpin and Fury. And honestly, they kind of tied. And I say they kind of tied because our number 2 champion, according to the Discord server, was actually Kingpin. And I know a lot of folks are like, no, he had the most first place votes, and he technically did. But Fury had significantly more votes in second place, and he was very close in first. And those two together, with Fury also getting a lot of third place and Kingpin getting more 6th, 7th, and 8th, came up where when I totaled it all up, Fury had actually beat Kingpin 309 to 306. I'm going to call it a tie, though, and I think that's a really good place to leave this, because I even myself had to go back and forth on who I thought was better, and so much it came down to context. If I just one fight and I can't include synergies, for me, it's Nick Fury all day. I don't care, because I've got that whole second life. If it's a war fight and I'm like, I just can't die, because even if the defender can't bleed, I can get into that second life. That the Fury's fury is massive. I'm not saying that's what I want to do. I'm just saying like that security. Now, if I'm trying to stay alive over the course of AQ or Battlegrounds, I need the degen, or let's say I can start bringing in synergies. Now, I put out a Kingpin, maybe the best skill champion video. This is well over a year ago. It was very soon after his buff, where I was like, maybe I'm crazy, but I think with his synergies, this is the best skill champion in the game. That video is still getting views, which is really cool, because I was still, learning my way around the YouTubes here. But Kingpin, it was the number 2 ranked on the Discord server. My own personal number 2 is actually Nick Fury. And that's so much that came down to, and this is kind of the ultimate point I'm going to make here, is I think if you're including synergies, and if you're including over the length of a quest or AQ or a multitude of Alliance War fights where you don't want to be healing up or things like that, Kingpin's phenomenal. He is amazing. There are multiple ways to play him as far as getting him into overpower with the SP2, or you could just go the SP1 route. You can start reducing defensive, it's defensive ability accuracy. Let me confirm that actually. Yeah, I wanted to make sure off the SP1 it's just defensive ability accuracy, but sometimes if you're going quickly enough, you can get that done twice. He is phenomenal. He's great. Jaeger took him to SIG 200, saying noticed a really nice increase there. He's great in Battlegrounds. He's a great defender. He's great in Alliance War. He's phenomenal when I've been able to use him in Alliance Quest for saving me items. Fury, that one fight where you just don't want to die, he's your guy. His skill, his bleed capabilities are phenomenal. He's also great in Battlegrounds. I think this is just how are you framing the question? What is the rule set? Who's number one or number two? But I do honestly think, as much as I love Shang-Chi, I think there's a slight tier. Fury and Kingpin, Kingpin and Fury, you pick however you want to do it, then Shang-Chi, and then we're on to Valkyrie. Thank you so much for watching. We'll continue to get these out over the course of the month. I'm really enjoying it, having a great time, and it's cool to learn. I'm learning all the time from my Discord server. I like hanging out on there. I'm learning from the MCoC Illuminati, but it is awesome to see them actually voting, already tabulating tech, and there's going to be more surprises. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I hope you either learned something, were entertained, or even better, a little bit of both. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.